Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Welcome to the R2S show. Thank you for joining us. This week we have a good one. We're going to talk about a few topics. If anybody has any questions, type them in the chat. Um, and we're just going to jump right into it because we have a little bit of time. So the first topic we're going to get into is about what we've been talking about everywhere on social media and the news for the last, decades, but especially more recently in the last couple of years, is Palestine, Gaza. And we're going to talk specifically about, I don't know if we have the article, but yep, there we go. Trump administration, he's working on a plan to move 1 million Palestinians to Libya. And there's some kind of deal that was reached where Libya agreed to accept the refugees from Palestine. And if you've been following this, which I'm pretty sure most people have, even if they don't mean to follow it, Trump has a plan that he's going to reconstruct Gaza and turn it into some kind of resort place, allegedly. And so we're gonna discuss that. And I want to start off with Mubarak and like what when you read this article, what are the things that come to mind when you read this?
Um, uh, Several things, and several things have been coming to mind for the last 2 years, specifically, but more than that. But um, the the first thing is it just jumps out some of the what would come across as arrogance, like American arrogance, or aggression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I will say that some of these emotions kind of go through, and either you get angry or you're upset about the situation. You have questions, you want answers, you want solutions. But the way the world works, and this is what I usually settle on, is that um, the strong are who survives, and the people who are strong enough, they do for themselves, and they do what they want for others. And the people who are not as strong, they're subject to the desires and the what the strong wants to do. So of course Allah is al-qawi, Allah is the strong, and Allah is the one who has the power over all things. And Allah does allow some people to have power over others for a time, and it usually changes, over time. But
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I would like to pose the question to you, brothers. First is that even just looking at this and just knowing what you know now about Gaza and the situation and everything that's been going on, and with your current situation, you know, we got families, wives, children, whatever it might be, but your current situation, if you were in Gaza now,
Mm-hmm.
and you heard that the Trump administration has a plan, and they are going to move 1 million Palestinians to Libya. What would you do? Would you stay? Would you go? What would be your take on it?
So if I'm in Gaza or Palestine right now,
If you're a Palestinian, Gazan, you
mm-hmm.
know, but your situation, your family situation is exactly what it is now. You're just there. That's the only difference.
Yeah,
You're a Gazan instead of an American.
yeah. So it's hard to put yourself, or at least for me, to put myself in those shoes, and it's an easy thing to like just kind of forget the reality of the situation that we can't really relate to what they're going through living where we're living and the lives that we live. And it's so easy to make the mistake of like, well, if I was this, I would do this. If I was there, I would do this. And we hear people do it all the time. And and I don't want to offend anybody because it's not a light question at all. I don't want any answer we give is probably going to be the wrong person or the wrong answer to somebody who actually has more of a direct experience of what is actually going on there. We can't fathom what they're going through, right? But just knowing the situation of it's completely destroyed, family members dying left and right, nowhere safe. And the thing that pops in my head, being someone that's on the outside and not having, any skin in the game besides like these are our Muslim brothers and sisters. These are human beings, these are children, these are innocent people, right? The quote of when Abraha came to attack the Kaaba, wanted to destroy the Kaaba. And gosh, why am I forgetting his name right now? But the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu, right?
Oh,
And he said pretty much, and I forget the exact quote, but we know it through the Sirah, is that Abraha was like, I'm about to destroy your Kaaba. And he was like, well, that's Allah's Kaaba. That's Allah's house. He'll take care of his house. I'm worried about my camels, right? And that's what pops in my head because at the end of the day, um, this world is temporary, right? Everything in it. Even though we hold like an attachment to whether it be our homes, our homeland, our nations, even our holy lands as being Muslims, of being like, this is the holy land, even if this was the Kaaba, yes, it hurts, it stings if like people were destroying it and it's not a safe place. But at the end of the day, it's like we are going to die at some point. And I guess you could use this argument for both sides, but I would leave. I would take any opportunity I had to leave the situation with me and my family to keep my family safe. That would be my decision. Again, I can't speak for people because I can also, if I'm living in it, I can see an easy turn in my opinion on that. With if no, I'm going to stay and fight these oppressors,
Mhm.
which is also a noble thing as well. But from the outside looking in, seeing the situation as it is, I would take any opportunity to leave that popped up.
Okay. And not to, I'm not playing devil's advocate. This is just my opinion. I would do the exact opposite of what Joffrey just said, strictly because every time that the European powers have told me, hey, you go here, you'll be safe. If you leave Gaza and go to the West Bank, you'll be safe. And they bomb the West Bank to smithereens. So there is no safe route exit for you if you're Palestinian. All right. If you're Palestinian, their goal isn't to have you escape to safety. They want to kill you all. There is no hostages. There is no if the Hamas leaders give up the freaking no. Their goal is to wipe you off the face of the earth. So it doesn't matter where you think you're gonna go. America has never helped anyone ever. That's not what America does ever. The end goal for America is to gain resources, is to gain money. It's not to help out people who are civilians or innocent. It's an image that they portray through Hollywood and films and stuff. But America is always a bad guy. So when the devil offers you a deal, it's not a good deal. It may sound good. Okay, yes, we're gonna help you, fly you to over here. The reason why these countries are split is because they don't get along in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of why they split them up and why we're so divided. Because hey, if you're Egyptian, you don't necessarily get along with people in the Levant. It's just not how it works. Otherwise, you all be together as one superpower in the Middle East. It's just not how it works. So, your best bet: keep doing what you're doing, praying, hoping that Allah gives you a shifa. But leaving, they're not gonna help you. You're probably gonna get bombed or shot or something crazy. Separate from your family.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So I'm somewhere in between what both of you brothers have said. We didn't plan this, by the way. We didn't even talk about it
At all. You'd be
Like we
surprised.
just, we, but I'm somewhere in between. I will say that, um, I'll say this outright. My idea with my family current situation, or really for anybody in the situation of the overwhelming 99.9% of the people in Gaza, um, if their situation is similar, is that I would tell them if there was a free passage, either whether it's by a trusted source or by the enemy, that says you can leave here, the place that they're attacking and bombing, and they're destroying the hospitals and the schools, and there's no food or resources getting in, and no one's getting out. If there was a place, and Libya is not a bad place to go, just in general, it's definitely better than where they are now, based on the situation. I would leave so fast, they wouldn't even finish the sentence. I would take my family, myself, and I would go.
Mhm.
And that's based on what is happening. So, and I know some of the staunch Palestinian supporters and the Hamas people will all say, this is cowardly or whatever. And we see the videos of the old, 90-year-old Palestinian grandmother, and she can barely walk, but she's saying, we'll never leave this place. I think they're foolish. I think these people are, well, I won't say just foolish. Some of them are, but I think they're a little deluded, and they're just asking to die because they're not actually fighting. They're just sitting ducks.
Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of people in Gaza are just waiting for the next bomb to drop and then begging for food to come in and asking for help from the Arabs and from the Muslims and whatever. But they're not actually fighting. They don't have guns. They don't have weapons. They don't have, they're not part of a military. They're not actually fighting. So if it was a fight, an actual fight where you have one side against the other, then by all means stay, because the help, is from Allah. And the ending, وَعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, and the ending is always for the righteous, for the God-fearing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something different. This is just a bunch of people who are trapped in an area, a bunch of Muslims. They don't have weaponry. They're not actually fighting. They're just waiting for someone to save them, or for a little Hamas who does, people get excited about the little things that they do, but wallahi, if we're being honest, they're insignificant. They're insignificant. Hamas takes, however long to set a little trap here or there, or catch, some Israeli soldier slipping and everybody, claps. But they can literally drop a bomb and do 100x or 1000x anything that Hamas could do, which takes however long to plan out. And they have to hide and wait. And, some of the stories where they may be waiting in one area for the opposition to come by for 2 months. They're sitting there waiting, and they might injure a couple or kill a couple, take out a tank or two. Do you realize that there's several countries around the world, in the Middle East and otherwise, that are helping to supply them with not only tanks, weaponry, and everything else? So it's like, for those people who are fighting, okay, but for 99.9% of the people, you're just in a melee and you don't have anywhere to protect yourself. You don't have any way to feed yourself or shelter yourself, and you're just begging. So it's not part of taqwa to just say, I'm going to rely on Allah, when no one around you is helping you and you do have an option. And I'll say this, there is precedence for what I'm saying, is because if we look at when the Muslims were oppressed in Mecca, they were oppressed in Mecca. And Mecca is more holy than Palestine. It's the number one place, the number one holiest place. And the Muslims were oppressed there. Some were killed, some were tortured. Where they left to where? They went to Africa. Libya is in Africa, by the way, if people don't know. That's in North Africa. But they went to Africa. They went to Abyssinia. Okay? And so there's a precedence for leaving when the situation has gotten out of hand. And the situation in Gaza is worse than what the Muslims were going through at the time of Rasulullah ﷺ and his companions, in which they were being persecuted. And they left. Okay? The second precedent is also when the Muslims left from Mecca to Medina. And there was literally no Muslims there except for people who were hiding their Islam. That's it. So every Muslim left the place because it was untenable. It was not livable for them. The persecution was too high. Mm-hmm. So this is another example of why, for the people in Gaza, there's a precedence Islamically from the Sunnah to leave that place when the when the opposition has such an upper hand over you and you're getting killed and wiped out. I mean, they are burning people alive,
Mhm.
in makeshift tents that they had to pull together. People, you see the children and the women are starving to death. People with that children are starving to death. You know, to be prideful and want to hang on to your land when you're not even fighting for it. You're just hanging on to it for the sake of hanging on to it. And we know it's one of the holiest places over there, but Allah will protect the place. And it's not the first time in which uh, Jerusalem, Philistine, the whole area has been occupied and taken over by non-Muslims. It's not the first time. It probably won't be the last time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We did not win. The Muslims did not win, and the reasons for it, we can go into that, and there's some evidence for that we'll get into later. But the point is, it's not a fight. It's just a slaughter. And you don't have to stay there and just be proud if you're not fighting. You don't have a clear way to defend yourself. You don't have any defense. The best thing to do is to go ahead and leave. So I would say for every single man, woman, and child who is not an actual soldier with weapons in hand, and even for the soldiers, they have an excuse. But if you're not an actual soldier, weapons in hand, fighting under a leader with a plan to defend yourself that you actually think could work, then you have the excuse to leave. And I would even say those people who are not soldiers and those people who are just sitting ducks, it is probably, I won't say it's obligatory, but you definitely should leave and go to any other place.
Mhm.
And if they have a place set up for you to go, then you should go. And then let the Jews, let the Yahud, let the Zionists, let the Israelis have it. Let them have all of it. And let them all be right there. We'll know exactly where they are. And Allah will take care of the rest.
And here's the thing that I think all the people need to really look at, and what has been the best, I guess you could say, offense in this situation. The best offense in this situation has been being a victim, right? If your best offense is like, okay, let's see and I don't want to, I'm trying to be sensitive to this because, but if your best best weapon is, let's show the world how many of us can die, that's not really a good strategy, in my opinion, right? Because the reason why we have so much public support around the whole entire world is because how they were getting slaughtered is being exposed to the world.
Mhm.
And that's what's actually like, no, this needs to stop. This is a genocide. This is a part. Like, people are paying attention now because they're killing you so efficiently, right? Just destroying you, destroying the whole place, killing people, children, and all that. And that's been the best weapon. Like, let's show them how many people die. And that's not a long-term strategy to win, right? It's almost like, we do a lot of sports analogies, and I hate to break this down to a sports analogy, but imagine going into a basketball game or a football game, and let's say, let's get the crowd to support us, right? They'll buy more of our merchandise and there'll be more of our fans if we just show them how much our team sucks. Like, we get dunked on every night, we lose by 100, but every now and then we hit a 3-pointer and then the crowd goes crazy. No, you have to think about that, really, right? And again, our hearts go out to the people that are suffering, and may Allah protect them and guide them and give them safety, right? Because it hurts all of our hearts watching this, and we couldn't imagine being in that situation. But as Mubarak said, we're Muslims. We're not attached to anything in this world, really, right? We're all going to die at some point, and our goal is to worship Allah the best we can, right? And make practical decisions, not based off of being attached to anything in this world, and move forward. And you touched on it a little bit, but we have to really realize, especially so the one thing is we have to let people know, we know that once these people if they do leave anywhere, you're not coming back. Don't just let go of that idea of coming back. So anybody that does go to Libya or anything like this, you're not coming back. But I would also like to say on this whole like Libya thing, like, yeah, we'll take the refugees, we'll take millions of them into our country. One, why would they agree to that? Because most of the countries around, Palestine, like Egypt, Jordan, they've refused to take people in. And they give the excuse, which I think is bullcrap excuse, well, if they leave, they're never going to be able to go back. So it's like their way of outside the country saying that we're going to protect Palestine by making sure that people stay in Palestine and die, because if they leave, then we're never going to get it back. And it kind of, all these little things, we talk about them more, each little one, but you know how Americans, especially in the West, we've found, not just Americans, but the West period, we found a way to profit off of war, right? And it's mainly been like arms, weapons, right? Industrial weaponization. It's a business, right? And it's like, oh, so at some point someone said, you know what? Okay, forget about wars for like land or whatever. I don't really care about that. I can make more money just making sure there's some kind of war going on because I could supply it endlessly, right?
That's what happened to America in World War II. America changed all their factories from textiles and just like produce to just straight military stuff. And America made billions of dollars on World War II. They didn't even fight until the very end. And they were selling billions to Europe and to both sides. And so what we're seeing in today's world is that, hey, listen, the reason why America always has outposts somewhere is so they can make money. Because we're profitable.
I think another thing we're seeing now, and I don't know if this is something that's recent or I just haven't been aware to it, but but entities have figured out how to profit off of genocide, right? Ethnic cleansing, charity, whatever you want to call it. People have like, well, you know what? Let's turn this side of it to a business. So like the whole aspect of it, as far as like the offensive, the weapons part of it, that's been turned into a business. And the other side, the people that are losing and getting killed and need help and need to be refugees, that side of it is now turned into a business. And you see it with all these little like the deals with Libya. I'm pretty sure like Trump went in there and was like, hey, listen, we're going to lift this tax or lift this tariff or give you this aid or whatever it is that they talked about if you just agree to this. Because in reality, I don't think Libya's not going to take anybody in, actually, especially millions of refugees. It's just not happening, not realistic.
And like we're in a time now where no one's like these Muslim nations aren't doing things out of the context of their heart. It's not how it works. And part of the reason for the like them carving up the Middle East was that, hey, we're going to make you more tribal. So hey, I identify as a Libyan more than I do Moroccan or Algerian. When in reality, it used to just all be North Africa, it used to all be freaking Amazigh. Or if you're freaking in the Middle East, hey, I identify more as Omani more than Saudi. Even though, like, hey, guess what? You're the same goddamn person. So what the hell are you doing, bro?
Could you imagine me coming? Like, say, here's the scenario: y'all are my neighbors, and someone's like basically coming to my house saying they're burning it down and attacking my family, right? And I come and knock on y'all door and say, hey, can I come stay with y'all?
70 a night.
And you say to me, no, because if you leave your house, they're not going to let you back in it. And I'm like, I don't care about the house. I'm trying to be safe. Let me in. You're like, no. You need to keep your house, James. It's in your best interest. It doesn't make any sense. Like, come on.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's like the story we had. I think we have it up next where, Jordan, it was a report where Jordan is actually, making money off of allowing the aid and food and medical supplies and different things to come into Gaza. So I mean, to me, it's amazing, and I really want people to really think about it and I don't want to say take the emotion out of it, but just really break it down to where it's very clear. Forget about that these people are Arabs, just like the Palestinians are Arabs, most of them. Forget about the fact that they are a Muslim, just like the Palestinians are Muslim. I know some people say, well, maybe they're not Muslim because of what they're doing. Listen, I don't want to get it. This is not an attack against the rulers or the people who are the governors of those countries that have predominantly Muslims living in them.
Mm-hmm.
This is not that. Let's just look at it just black and white across the board. You have a situation where there are various countries that are surrounding Gaza, okay? And they're not being attacked for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. Syria gets bombed a little bit here and there, but for the most part, those countries are not being attacked. They're not being bombed. They're not under a blockade. They're not being genocided. They don't have that going on. So you have to say, number one, if they're not being attacked, then are they a friend of yours? Are they allies of yours or not? If you can say no, okay, then you understand. We're not friends. We're not allies. I don't care whether you get attacked or not. And that could be the case. A lot of people seem to be of the opinion that they're Muslim, Palestinians are Muslim, everybody's Muslim. Why are they not helping? And if that's the case, we have to look at it like this. Either if they do help, the fear of them getting beat down as well is greater than their desire to help. So forget about that they're Muslim. It's self-preservation at the end of the day. Maybe they say, hey, listen, it doesn't matter which one of them. If they help, they might be next.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off of Bart, I think he might have closed. But real quick, this isn't the first time that this isn't the first time that Jerusalem has been captured. Palestine has been captured by outside forces, and we have precedents. Oh, he's back.
Oh, looks like you're lagging out.
Maybe the only reason why they have the power.
Get this man hardwired job.
You're going on and off, Mark. If you can hear us. But yeah, I mean, it's telling if you I don't pay attention enough to politics to, like, I'm not interested that much to like get into the details, but you could see enough, and anybody that has eyes and some common sense, you could see that all the stuff that is out there in the news and all these, like, these statements and like, oh, Libya's going to do this and Jordan's doing this, and we're not seeing behind the curtain of what's really going on, right? And but you get hints of what's going on behind the curtain. And like Mubarak said, it's all self-preservation. It's what Amr just said. When you draw a line on a map, and then all of a sudden you become, besides human beings or Muslims, or you become, no, I'm Libyan, I'm Palestinian, I'm Jordanian, whatever you want, you become this. And these leaders, we can't assume that these leaders are just like outright righteous Muslims that are thinking of the best thing for Islam. No, they're actually thinking about the people that they're in charge, the people that put them in power or that they're overseeing, that can put them in power and take them out of power. And if you look at this Jordan situation, because pretty much what the accusation was from Middle East Eye was Jordan's profiting off of this aid that's being delivered to Gaza, right? They charge trucks to go in. They charge for airdrops, right? And then Jordan basically fired back and said, oh, no, we're not profiting off of it, but these things cost money.
So you are.
Yeah, we know they're costing money. You want to change terminology for public opinion, but that means you are somehow profiting off of it, right? You didn't put out there like there's a cost and we're breaking even. No, you're charging for these services. And also found out like what they're doing is, and it's a crazy scheme, what they're doing is on the airdrops, they're actually not like filling the planes up either.
Yeah.
Right, they're just dropping off a little bit, which means, like, if you think about that, if you're charging for every airdrop, it's better for you not to fill the plane up, because instead of making one trip I can turn that one trip into 3 or 4 trips,
yeah.
right? And then each time I do it, it's a video. Look at Jordan dropping supplies to Gaza. We're the hero on the national scene in social media. Meanwhile, we made all these millions of dollars, right? And there's also reports about how they're using this money to fund whatever projects they have going on in their country, right?
Which is, again, it's all the scheme. It's just like when the Shiite governments in Iran, right? They were like, hey, we want strikes on Tel Aviv. Listen, I don't care if you bomb 1,000 Israeli or Houthi military bases. If you don't ransack Tel Aviv like, I want to ransack to the ground, right? This is all for show. This is like, okay, finally, the only Muslims doing something is it's the Shia. Like, no, you guys are just putting on a show. I don't care if you bomb some fake Yahudi bases, bro. Go ransack Tel Aviv to the ground, nuke it to the ground. Like, what is this? You are putting on absolute cap. And for all the surrounding countries nearby Palestine, listen, I understand what the play is here. All right, the play is to try and win the social media game, because that's all it is nowadays. Like, y'all don't care about the lives of the Palestinians. Let's be clear. Like, they are a necessary sacrifice you guys deem for your country to go forward. And your best interest is like, we believe in order for us to go forward, we have to ally ourselves with the Yahudi and America as a whole. So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to put our lives on the line, because in reality, like, history tells you, it's not going to happen. The Muslims have not been one ummah since the Umayyads. That is 1,200 years ago. We're not going to be one ummah again for a long time. We're more divided now than ever.
And you mentioned the social media aspect of it. There's probably more, but in my mind, there's two things at play here. And there's two things that these countries are working or dealing with. You have the social media aspect of it, which is not just social media, it's public opinion, right? So they want to manage public opinion. And within the public opinion, there's a subset of just general worldwide public opinion. But if they're Muslim countries, they're also worried about Muslim public opinion, right? So there's that aspect of it. But the real thing that they're actually really, really, really concerned about, and what's going on with the internal stuff, is that they're trying to see how they could, whatever word you want to use for it, benefit, profit, and position themselves as best they can due to the crisis that's going on in Palestine, right? And of course, that is working with the superpowers of the world. And it's like, okay, on social media, on the news, we got to show everybody that because everybody, you can't actively be working with them, right? We're dropping off aid. We're doing everything we can to help Palestine. But behind the scenes, you're talking with America and Israel. Like, hey, what do you guys really want us to do? Like, how much aid can we get from y'all? Well, how much will y'all leave us alone? How much, deals can we make so that we can improve our country for our people? Meanwhile, the people in your country, and I really want people to think about this, especially people in the Muslim countries. The good thing about living in America is that we could say whatever the heck we want, and really nothing's going to happen to us for the most part, right? To a certain level. Really think about this for the people that are living in those Muslim countries. Are your leaders really representing what you want? We know ours aren't, right? It's an old fact. We know ours aren't. But when you sit as a citizen and you have these marches and parades and all that, protesting this and that, which, that's a whole nother topic, but you're in a situation, if you knew what was going behind the scenes, and you knew that actually your country would have to suffer to really actually help the Palestinians, like, you go hungry, you eating bread and water every day, would you push your leaders to actually go and do that? And I think that's a real question that people have to really ask themselves, to understand what your leaders are going through, because they're actually looking out for their best interest or your best interest instead of the Palestinians. And the suffering the Palestinians are going through is unfortunately just a tool for them to improve their position. And it's really sad. You back with us, Mubarak?
I hope so. I think so. Can you hear
You
me?
better run that wire to your.
I thought I had it figured out this time, man. But alhamdulillah, I was listening. Y'all did a good job covering everything. Alhamdulillah. So I think we uh, covered the topic pretty well. I'm sure people will be upset one way or the other, but it's not an easy thing to cover and have to deal with, and tough decisions have to be made, and hard truths have to be understood. So at the end of the day, Allah will give the victory to the Muslims,
I
and
mean,
that may not be in this life. It may be in the next
yep.
life. So we have to know that we just keep trying doing our best, and then eventually Allah will take care of it, but we don't know when.
And just don't lose hope in the law ever, because this isn't, again, it's not the first time Palestine has been conquered. All right, and Mubarak mentioned a while ago about, listen, if you're just a sitting duck waiting to be slaughtered, that also happened before as well. When the Crusaders beat what was it, Andalut, whatever, when the Crusaders won the battle and came to Jerusalem and entered this city walls, the people, the men, women, and children there who lived there, it wasn't like they just like left peacefully. No, the Crusaders painted the city red. They killed every man they could find. They took babies by the legs, smashed their heads into walls. They raped all the girls there, and even killed them later. So it doesn't end peacefully. And then the Crusaders set up a whole state there. They ran it for 88 years nonstop, and there was a bunch of Muslims all around. And they didn't go fight the Crusaders and win. No, it took them 88 years, and it took freaking Salahuddin had to kill some Muslims here and there just to get control of this Islamic empire. So a bunch of stuff has to transpire. Listen, there's a bunch of Muslim leaders in the world, but I haven't seen one Salahuddin Ayyubi yet. So we're a good ways away from that happening again. All right, maybe in Lohut Labakah, we have our leaders in the cave. But right now, currently, in the active Muslim world, yeah, Allah, Allah was that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's a good place to end it there. If you guys have any questions, type them in the comments. If you have any concerns, you can email us at email r2f.com. I want to see if Mubarak can explain a little bit for this ayat when we close out of the ayat that pretty much tells us that perhaps we love a thing that's bad for us and hate a thing that's good for us. And that's kind of what it is. It's kind of like swallowing a bitter pill. And at the end of the day, Allah is the best of planners, and we know that. And sometimes the greater victory is in what Allah plans, right? And sometimes we just have to accept that and see what our position is and move forward accordingly. Remember, as Muslims, our goal isn't this world, So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you covered it quite well, but I'll just say kind of what I said earlier in reference to that ayah about how, you know, you may like a thing that's bad for you, and you may dislike a thing that's good for you, and that, leaving one of the three holiest places, for the non-Muslims to have, it's not by choice, but the situation calls for it. But leaving that area, especially for the people who've been living there, it's not easy. But I will say that you know Allah is the best of planners, and like I said, if the Muslims leave and you know they are all there, having a good time and settled down and everything, then you know they're where you can see him. I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, all right, till next week. We appreciate you guys joining the show, and next week we're going to be talking about, guess what? Another Mahdi. We got another one out there. So
maybe this time, listen. Maybe this time, this Imam Mahdi might be the one. All right. Now, sure, there's a bunch of signs of the last days, but the last days, the major signs haven't happened all the way there yet. But this white guy, listen, this white guy might be the one. All right.
We got a Caucasian Mahdi, y'all.
I don't even know his name is probably like David Ibn Matthew, all right? But listen, I look forward to covering this next week, inshallah. Subhanallah.
Ibn Matthew Gardner.
Ibn Halal over there.
Yep. He spreads those services.
Open up.
Oh, shit. Yeah, did it come for you already? Damn. Yo, we gotta get off the screen, friend.
Oh, ya
man.
Allah. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Oh, ya Allah.
All right. Off live.
David Ibn Matthew Gardner.